The French President Nicolas Sarkozy visits Morocco to launch his vision for a Euro-Mediterranean partnership. But what's really behind his plans? Is it a clever way to stem illegal immigration and combat rising extremism in North Africa? And will Paris be dictating terms between the continents? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm Darren Jordan. Well, French President Nicolas Sarkozy has wrapped up a three-day trip to Morocco and announced his message for all Mediterranean countries. He says it's time to cooperate. Speaking on Tuesday, Sarkozy said he wants to form a regional union, one which will work together on political, economic and cultural issues. And, he says, bring the North and South together. Anar Verji has more on Sarkozy's bold vision.
Tangiers. It's a jumping-off point in Morocco for many Africans trying to get across the Mediterranean and into Europe illegally. Just one issue France faces, and one the French president wants all Mediterranean countries to address in a new initiative. Speaking in Tangiers on Tuesday, Nicolas Sarkozy called for a new Mediterranean Union to look at what he calls common political, economic and cultural interests, and invited Mediterranean leaders to a June 2008 meeting in France. There have been other plans to bring the countries together, including a Euro-Mediterranean program launched in Barcelona 12 years ago. That plan has since stalled. But Sarkozy hopes he can put new life into an old idea and bring together countries with what he says should be a common goal.
Courage is to call upon all peoples to be part of this union and to think in a way that the Mediterranean area is not divided into two parts separated by the sea. They constitute one group, sharing a common destiny, a place where all people are equal in dignity, rights and obligations.
Sarkozy also helped out France's interests in Morocco on this trip. He took along businessmen who signed contracts totaling more than $4 billion, including one for French train companies to build a high-speed rail link between Tangiers and Marrakesh, leading some to wonder whose interests Sarkozy represents.
Until now, the idea of the Union is still vague and not clear. It is a unilateral French project. It follows the Barcelona program, which was doomed to failure and could not be evaluated by all parties so far.
Sarkozy's betting on a different outcome this time, and that his plan can bring together a diverse group of countries.
Well, joining us now to discuss the new French plan are our guests in London, Jacques Rolland, Head of European Research at the Global Policy Institute of the London Metropolitan University. In Paris, Nassif Hitti, Arab League Ambassador to France, and in Rabat, Lassan Haddad, a Moroccan political analyst. Gentlemen, welcome to the programme. Nassif Hitti in Paris, let me start with you, if I may. I mean, this idea has been criticised by the sceptics who question the real intentions of France. I mean, how viable is this proposal, do you think?
Well, let me say it's an idea that started with the candidate Sarkozy last February before being elected president. It's an idea, it's an initiative, and he's putting it on the table for discussion. We are still in the phase of trying to find out what will be the contents of this idea. There are certain sub-ideas that have been presented, one about a union of projects, one about education, one about durable development, energy, human resources, and other aspects in this case. We are in the phase, actually, of raising questions in France in general and everywhere. Those who are interested to watch out how it's going to develop, particularly in the light of the many lessons that we have drawn from different structures, such as the Euromed Partnership, the Mediterranean Forum, and others. There are certain questions which I put at the table. Where will be the place, for instance, of Europe in this matter? It's a Mediterranean Union, not a Euro-Mediterranean Union. The Spanish, for instance, are floating the idea of Euromed Union. So this is one aspect. Would it be the European Union as part of it, or only the European Commission, as President Sarkozy is suggesting? Would it be in two stages, for instance, starting with the Maghreb, with its African depth, and then with the Mashrek, with its Asian depth? What would be the place in Turkey? At what time Turkey would be invited, especially that some would say it's a way of not presenting Turkey to go into the Union, the European Union, and it's a way of having special relationship with Turkey. So it's It's a period of raising questions and then trying to address them collectively. And I think that's what the French have been trying to do in the recent couple of weeks.
OK, so lots of unanswered questions then. Let's go to Dr. Lassane Hadda in Rabat. I mean, Sarkozy has chosen Morocco, where you are, to spearhead this partnership. But is Morocco really capable of convincing countries like Egypt, Libya, and even Algeria to join this union? I mean, will, for example, Cairo even listen to Rabat?
Well, I mean, like it will and it won't, but I don't think it's up to Morocco to convince those countries. I think it's up also to France to do that. And I think France has a lot of leverage with other countries like Algeria and also Egypt and Tunisia. But I think it's symbolic that Sarkozy started that from Morocco, because Morocco has probably the biggest interest in seeing something through like this. And also Morocco probably banks on this for drawing like European investments and also developing its coastal cities and coastal lines along the Mediterranean. So Morocco has a lot to gain from this. And I think if Morocco joins, I mean, other countries will think seriously about that in the sense that there are a lot of common elements between a lot of countries. I think countries in the south are interested in the economic side of it, while probably European countries are concerned with the security and immigration and other things. And I think if there is like a common interest and Morocco sees that common interest and it has shown interest in it now, I think other countries will follow suit. I don't think there is a lot to lose for Egypt and for Algeria and others, except if it is like some sort of union whereby like most of those southern countries are looked at as gendarmes or are police men for, I mean, like for immigration and terrorism issues.
OK, let's get some reaction now from London and bring in Jacques Rolland. Jacques, I mean, there's already a Euro-Med agreement in place, isn't there, the Barcelona process? Why do we need another one?
But the Euro-Med agreement has failed on some respects, especially its cultural and political parcels, are they called. The economic one is not seen so more as a one-way street with kind of Europe imposing its will. Well, there, the new process is radically different in the sense that it doesn't involve the whole of the European Union and will involve only the countries of the Mediterranean Rim. So therefore, about around half a dozen countries in the European Union. And the idea is to work on the principle of co-development, where everyone participates on an equal basis, unlike in the Barcelona process, around some projects which could help to nurture cooperation between European and North African and also East Mediterranean Arab countries. And therefore, it is and also, one point, you were talking about the issue of immigration. This time, in order to make sure that it is not involved purely as a way of managing immigration, when President Sarkozy asked for two conferences, one on the European, on the Mediterranean Union project to be held in June, and another one, different one, on the issue of immigration between Africa and Europe, which we held at a later date during the French presidency.
OK, gentlemen, stay with us, won't you? Because, I mean, some people fear that Sarkozy's plan for a Mediterranean Union may undermine the European Union's own plan. The 1995 Euro-Mediterranean Partnership sought to boost cooperation between EU members and their 12 non-EU neighbours on the Mediterranean Sea. Its focus is economic reform and trade, but the 2010 deadline for a free trade agreement is slipping. Sarkozy's plan to reinvigorate this deal has far grander objectives. He's pushing for a regional union of Mediterranean states with a rotating presidency. And although the details are sketchy, Sarkozy says he wants the union to be a vehicle for economic growth and cultural cooperation. Nassif Hiti in Paris, let me come back to you. I mean, Sarkozy used his trip to approve something like $4 billion in bilateral contracts for high-speed trains and other ventures. Critics say he's only using this trip to promote French business in its former colonies. What do you say to that?
Well, I will just go beyond that and say any country, of course, will try to promote its own business, whether it's France or other countries. But let me say also, and add here first, that there has always been a special relationship between France and the Maghreb countries with its ups and downs, and particularly a good relationship with Morocco. But there is an element here of parallelism, even if somebody would not like to see it this way, between the Euro-Med partnership and this idea of Mediterranean Union. Let's remember that the Euro-Med partnership was based on three baskets, like the old Helsinki process of three baskets. In the Mediterranean Union, we're talking about projects rather than institutional baskets. And apparently, the Mediterranean Union would like to be more modest and more flexible in its formulation. But I would like also to add another question. Are we going to proceed? Is it going to proceed in a comprehensive fashion, including all Mediterranean countries? Here in the political security matters, we will stumble one more time in the state of the relationship that exists within the Arab-Israeli conflict, which is a high tension. And let's remember that the Euromed partnership, that the Barcelona process was able to take off because it came after the Madrid process was launched successfully and after the Oslo agreement. Where are we today compared to that matter? For that reason, I go back to the first question and remark I formulated and observation by saying perhaps it will start in a flexible way in two stages, focusing mostly on Western Mediterranean than Eastern Mediterranean, France, European Mediterranean countries on one hand, and the Maghreb plus the African depth on the other hand. And here we cannot disconnect between this depth, especially that there is a call also for a meeting for another conference, European African conference, which will definitely address the issue of co-development, but having in the back of the mind the issues of immigration, particularly illegal immigration.
All right, now just before we go to the break, let me bring in back Dr. Lassane Hadda there in Rabat. I mean, France has always had strong links with the countries of North Africa. I mean, is Sarkozy's push for regional union really about France possibly trying to re-establish influence over the Maghreb?
That's true, and I think it's re-establishing that kind of influence because now United States also has designs on the Maghreb, I mean, like economically and politically, and also for security reasons, given all the threats that are coming from the Grand Sahara. But I think also France is looking for a space for itself in the sense that the expansion of the European Union towards the east has favored more German interest than it has done French interest. And that's why I think France is looking for like a natural kind of space where it can have more influence and more leeway and more leverage. And I think it's to the northern African countries and European countries with which it had like ties economically and culturally and on all other levels that it is looking for that. So yes, I think that France is looking for interest there, but also is looking for a space of influence like Germany has done, I mean, like, and has profited from the expansion towards the east.
OK, well, gentlemen, stay with us, won't you? Because it's time for a short break now. But when we come back, we ask whether this new plan is really a way for France to dictate the terms of Europe's relationship with the South Mediterranean countries. Stay with us.